I think in terms of staying in your lane, that comes with building a brand identity and making sure that you're staying true to your vision and true to yourself is what's going to really help differentiate you, because there's like a million other people, but there's only one you, right? So if you can have a way to effectively like package that you-ness and like put that into your business and inject that passion into what you're doing, it doesn't matter how many competitors you have, like your people, like people who you vibe with and who you speak to with your product are going to find you.
Hey, this is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 143 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today we are speaking to Uchenna and Chioma Ngwudo, the creators of Cee Cee's Closet NYC, which is a brand that celebrates the beauty of West African print through fashionable accessories and clothing, which is all handmade by tailors and artisans in Lagos, Nigeria. And in this episode, we're going to dive into what goes into building and developing a brand that your customers love. So if you guys want to know about marketing, you want to know about building a brand from scratch, financing, this is the episode for you. Some of the things that we discuss include launching a company together as sisters, the importance of customer feedback and customer emails, some guerrilla marketing strategies the two use when building their brands, partnering with influencers, how to manage your finance in a very capital intensive and bootstrap business, what you can learn from competitors in your market, building a brand identity, personal growth, and more. And personally, what I loved about this episode was the energy of Chioma and Uchenna. And if you guys really love the energy of Connor and Logan Little John in episode 142, the 9 and 10-year-old musician artist duo, then you guys are going to love just the energy of these sisters. It was really inspiring to me to just see what can happen when you do work with family and when you are very passionate about what you're doing. Teamwork really does make the dream work. And if you've been following me on Instagram, you guys know that I love the headwraps from Cee Cee's Closet, and we're partnering up with Chioma and Uchenna, and we are going to be giving away one of their headwraps from their collection to one of you guys. So if you want to enter to win a headwrap from Cee Cee's Closet, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win to enter, okay? Don't forget about it. Make sure you are following us on social. We are Dreams and Drive across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I want to see you sharing and screenshotting and just talking about this episode once you listen to it. I'd really, really appreciate it. All right, let's get into the episode. Hope you guys enjoy. Hi, Chioma and Uchenna. Welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. I'm so excited to have both of you guys on today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see you.
Two people behind the mic definitely is going to be fun. We just saw each other this past January at Christina Brown's Brown Girls Love Power Day, so that was exciting.
That was a really amazing event. It was really nice to meet all like the speakers and the other attendees, see what people's goals were for the year, and learn what other people are passionate about.
Yeah, the vibes are so awesome.
Definitely. And I think we did meet at Curl Fest, right? That was the first time that we met. Yeah.
We met at Curl Fest, and it was just, I was amazed during Curl Fest. I was in shock at how many people actually turned up to the event and had a great time. I was very, very thankful for the amount of people who stopped by our booth and patronized us. And I was also worried about catching my flight.
Yeah, you were going to Afropunk.
Afropunk in Paris that same night.
Listen, you guys are hustlers. I definitely respect that. And it was hot as heck that day. I feel like it was the hottest day of the summer.
It was like 100 degrees outside, and I think the energy from like the people who were attending and the people who were excited about like my brand just like kept me going.
All right, but let's hop into the interview. As you guys know, I love to start by going back in time. I'm going to change it up a bit today. So tell me, each of you, what is one of your most vivid childhood memories, and what do you think that memory says about who you are today?
So this is Chioma. I would say that one of my most vivid memories of as a child, I think the one that really stuck with me most was actually the night that we dropped Uchenna off at boarding school when I was in middle school, when I was a lot younger. And for two reasons, like one, because like my big sister was leaving me for boarding school. So I was really, really sad about it. And two, because like I like to cope, I kind of did what I always do, which is like to read a book. So I ended up, I think, reading the entire like first Twilight book on the drive back, because we drove her up to Boston to drop her off for boarding school, and then we drove back. And so on that car ride back, to like keep from crying and stuff like that, I ended up reading a book. And I think for a lot of like my childhood, books were such a huge part of like who I was and how I like related to the world and how I learned about the world, because I was always curious and always wanted to learn more. And then also like just also shows how much of like an important role my sister played in like me growing up and who I am today.
Oh, you guys are so cute. I don't think I cried when my sister went away. This
is Uchenna here. There are like a multitude of memories that I have from my childhood. But I would say one of them that stands out to me in this particular time is just the first time I watched America's Next Top Model by Tyra Banks. I think it came out around when I was about like 10 years old. And it was like my first sort of like insight into the fashion industry. And from then on, like, I think other shows followed, such as Project Runway, where I would see people continuously design different pieces. And I think for me, it wasn't so much like just a creative outlet, but how people reacted to the clothes and how the clothing made it feel. I think these shows helped pique my interest in the fashion industry and in beauty, and made me want to espouse those same sort of like feelings in other people.
So what was the dream back then for both of you?
Our names are Uchenna and Chioma, and we're of Nigerian descent. Naturally, my parents wanted me to be a doctor and Chioma to be a lawyer.
Typical, right? Immigrant parents, right?
Yes.
This is Chioma, and yeah, I think part of it for me being a lawyer was that I was, as much as I like to read, I also loved, I think equally or probably more, to talk. So I would talk any and everyone's ear off. So my parents were like, you could be a good lawyer because you like to talk, you like to read, and you argue pretty well. So it was something that I thought would be a good fit. And I was like obsessed with I'm forgetting his name right now, but the lawyer for OJ. And I was like, if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit. I remember I was obsessed with Johnny Cochran, and I was obsessed with just like having that like sound, like really seemingly sound argument in my young mind, like just being like, that's like such a great one-liner. And I like wanted to be like that type of lawyer and have that kind of like sway and hold over people.
Uchenna, you also wanted to be a doctor? Like that was something you felt was your calling at that age?
My parents told me that I wanted to be a doctor, that I should be a pediatrician. I didn't necessarily understand what came with being a doctor. I know one thing about me is that when I was like a child is that I was always creating. And so I had like a journal, and I would like take deep interest in like collecting and maintaining different journals. And I would just like write different things. So I would write stories, I would write poetry, I would write lyrics for songs, and I would also like draw either things I wanted to wear or things that I wanted to see and be in the future. But I also like the idea of like reporting. So I think at one point when I was learning about different careers, I wanted to be a journalist because I thought it was cool to write.
At any point during this journey, did you guys think that you would one day be entrepreneurs?
I would say, speaking for myself, like I think that like just being in that environment, like the dream was, you graduate from school, you get a good job, you work there for 2 years, you go to business school, you create your own company, and then you like IPO. So I knew that I would eventually create something, and there were like a lot of things that I tried to start for Cee Cee's Closet, but I didn't know that I would end up being a part of like this company. I couldn't have foreseen that in the way that I did.
For me, I started to get really interested in entrepreneurship while I was in college. Like, I like interned at a startup for a bit, and I did some of their on-campus work while I went abroad to London, I think I got really excited about like entrepreneurial experiences and what those could be like. And so like I'd always known that I wanted to start a business, and I didn't know that that business was going to be Cee Cee's Closet. Like I didn't say like right away, like this is the company that I'm going to start, but I knew that I for sure wanted to start a business.
So Chioma, tell me about the trip to Nigeria that sparked you and your sister's journey into entrepreneurship.
So yeah, for the trip that sparked it all. So after my senior year of college, my grandfather on my father's side actually passed away. But this was like a celebration of life because he was like well into his 80s. He had lived like a really full life. And so my dad took it as an opportunity for us to go back to Nigeria. And at that point, I hadn't been to Nigeria in almost 10 years, like since middle school.
Wow.
So it was like an exciting experience to go back, but it was also just like, well, like I haven't been back in such a long time. Like, what's it going to be like all of this stuff. And I think that I didn't like think about this really at the time, but I think there were a lot of connotations about Africa that even as like a first generation Nigerian American, like that I had like some false views of it. So when I went back and I like got that chance to experience like the culture, experience like my family, and then also like experience some like Lagos night life with my cousins and be able to like go out and like just see all the opportunities that Africa has to offer. It was like such a transformational experience for me. And I really enjoyed like those weeks there. And then while I was there, Uchenna unfortunately wasn't able to come because she'd just started her job teaching. She'd been teaching and she wasn't able to come with us for that extended period of time. So I wanted to get her a present because like it's my favorite. So I wanted to get her something nice to commemorate the trip as well, even though she couldn't be there. And so while I was like shopping in some craft markets, I found like these beautiful like African print clutches. And so I decided that we would wear them to my graduation party that I was having when we came back. Just kind of show them off, like to show off that I'd been traveling. Because, you know, like when you're in college, like that's what everyone wants to be doing. While we were there, so many people had asked like, oh, like, where did you get it from? Like, this is so beautiful. Like, where can I get one? And that kind of sparked the idea that like, hey, like this could be something that we could do. So, like I had like some money from the job that I just signed with, and I invested like $300, and I was like, okay, let's like get a few of these clutches and see if people would be interested in buying them from us. And I like called up my sister, I called Uchenna because she was still in Philly at the time. And I was like, hey, like I'm thinking of starting this thing. It's called Chioma's Closet. Would you like to join? And then Uchenna can tell you about how we end up with that name change as well.
All right.
Oh, hey, Raina, just so you know, when Chioma was in Nigeria, I was working in asset management at the time.
Okay.
And then so in terms of like us moving from Cee Cee's Closet, moving from Chioma's Closet to Cee Cee's Closet, at the time when Chioma had like asked me if I wanted to join in the project, I was just like, of course, she's my younger sister. I would like love to help her, but I worked in an office filled with dudes. So, I mean, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to print out a PowerPoint deck with like all the different clutches that we have, write down the prices, and then go around the office and ask people if they're interested in purchasing them. Initially, I just felt like I found the whole ordeal to be kind of like awkward. And so one of the differences between myself and my sister is that Chioma tends to be more extroverted. So it's like she has a natural, like sort of like sales personality, whereas I'm someone who's a little bit more introverted. And so like I'm one of those people at work, like I go into work, I check in, I ask my supervisor what needed to get done. I did it as efficiently as possible, and I left. And so that in-person sales experience just wasn't natural for me. But then I realized, I was like, oh, well, I feel much more comfortable doing something online. So I was like, how about we create a website and where people can place orders and mail it out? And that sort of like made the whole sort of sales experience a little bit more impersonal and something that I felt more comfortable doing.
So how was that? How was it to go into business as being sisters, like in the beginning? Was it something that you just everything naturally flowed, or were there any hiccups at the beginning?
I would say in terms of like the name thing, so if initially started out as like Chioma's Closet, like Chioma previously stated, but I was just kind of very on and and very early on, I'm like, if I'm going to do a partnership, then it's going to be a real partnership and not necessarily like the Chioma show or or Chioma's closet, so to speak. And so Chioma has a nickname for me, which is called Chenny. And both Chenny and Chioma started with a C. So that's why we were like, oh, so why don't we just be Cee Cee's Closet? And that was actually turned out really well for us because I was like, oh, it's a good name because it's easy to remember and it feels very salient, right? So even if you haven't heard of our brand before, because the word Cee Cee seems so familiar, you'll feel like you've heard of it before.
It definitely is. Like when you see it, you're like, oh wait, have I? Oh, I know about that. Then you realize you don't, but then you're still hooked and you're like, oh, let me look through all the pictures. Yeah.
And then you got a head wrap tutorial.
Yeah.
And then you got a head wrap.
Because I think it's like Cee Cee, it just sounds very familiar. It sounds like a nickname. It sounds like your homegirl. It's just like very warm and inviting name. So I love that you guys use that. So in the beginning days, what was the focus? How were you guys out there getting sales, building your customer base?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, like Uchenna said, she wanted to do the website because we thought it'd be a great way to reach, have a little bit more of a continuous sale cycle as well. So you could sell 24 hours versus having to talk to people. And so our first sales very much were me talking to my friends and getting them to buy bags. And I'm so thankful to everyone who bought a bag for me, but I would bring personally delivered to them. And I really appreciated that. And then later, once we had the website up and running, we told all of our friends, we had our social media set up and everything. We kind of have this expectation that everyone does, you just open the website and then all of a sudden you have sales.
Right. You'll be a millionaire in a day. And it doesn't happen.
No. That takes time for sure. So in order to kind of build up on that, one of the things that we ended up doing after a few months of having just a couple of sales online and we wanted to build up, we started doing some in-person pop-up shops in New York City.
Can you give us the date on this? So when did you guys start?
So we started in November 2015 was when we started online.
Okay.
And then in terms of when we did our first pop-up shop, I believe it was a Valentine's Day pop-up shop, right? In February, Uchenna?
It was in February, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a Valentine's Day pop-up with Schwick Market, which is a great company that does a bunch of markets in Brooklyn and Manhattan. And we applied and we were able to get in and we were really excited. And we brought our mom to our first pop-up.
What were you selling?
So at that time, we were selling our head wraps, we had our clutches, and we had a few of our leather bags that we had come up with. So we came out with African print and leather backpacks as well. And then we also had our Cee Cee's Closet swag. So that was our T-shirts and our crop tops as well.
So the first market, did it go well? Did you guys sell out?
We did not sell out our first market. We sold a lot. We made the most money in a day in a weekend that we had made. So it was really exciting for us. And it gave us an opportunity to kind of interact with people and get people excited about the brand, meet a lot of people who ended up falling in love with the brand and falling in love with Cee Cee's Closet and being excited about what we were doing and what the products that we had. So it was great to have that instant feedback that you can get in person that you can't necessarily get as much online because you see the person, you give them the head wrap tutorial, they fall in love with how they look in the head wrap, and then they buy that head wrap and then they get super excited about it and you can get that instant gratification and that instant customer feedback.
Yeah, I feel like that's so important, right? People don't understand that really talking to the customers and figuring out what it is that how they're experiencing the brand is crucial. Was there some type of customer feedback that you guys received in the early days that really helped you understand where you needed to go with the brand?
One of the things that we learned, I think, early on, and we actually hadn't done a ton of at that point yet, was that the tutorial part of it was so important. I think people learning how to use the product, because I think with head wraps, it is a type of product that you need to kind of, not everyone knows how to put on a head wrap. And having those tutorials to kind of introduce people to it would be a great way for us to be able to kind of get people engaged with Cee Cee's Closet and get people engaged with the idea of trying a head wrap and seeing themselves in the product.
So at this point, were you guys creating a marketing strategy? Because I feel like with any type of, online business especially, you really have to figure out how are we going to get more people in our brand and how are we going to grow. So what were some of the growth marketing tactics or strategies that you guys were implementing to really build your customer base?
as Chioma spoke about earlier, we kind of used the pop-ups as a guerrilla marketing sort of technique. So it was a way for us to hand out our sort of like branding materials that we had created. So postcards as to how to keep in touch with us. But another important thing I wanted to know is that from the very first pop-up, we were collecting emails to grow our email list from our newsletter.
So important.
And it's beyond important, and so many people ignore me. I literally, when I speak to my accountability partners and friends, like some people just still haven't like sort of focused their energy on this point as well. But it's like, trust me, like people, if they like you once, it's guaranteed that they'll like you again and again. And our first year online, almost half of our revenue came from our email newsletters. So don't sleep on email newsletters. Get in the habit of creating content. So we were doing so many different things at the time. Like in addition to our having our social media posts, we created like blog posts of like how to style head wraps. Like what do you wear them with? What type of products would make a good gift, whether it was like for like Mother's Day or like Valentine's Day, we spoke about earlier, or even for your birthday, like different outfits that we use. Like I think polyvore, I don't know if people use that, but like to show people how they could use our clutches and our head wraps and incorporate them into their everyday lives. In addition to that, we've also, in the very beginning, understood the importance of developing a brand. And so when I say that, it's just like, there are, of course, other people who sell like African print inspired, /inspired accessories or clothing or whatnot. So why should I purchase with Cee Cee's Closet? And I think that like our brand messaging is so clear and people have such a defined understanding of who a Cee Cee's Closet customer is, because we focused all of our imagery and marketing efforts into defining that woman. In terms of like marketing, like imagery is key. Early on, like we were just like, great, we have a camera, we have an iPhone, we can take pictures and we'll be well on our way.
It's so easy, right?
Yeah, but like I think you can see on our Instagram page, over time, we've just gotten better and better and developed like better imagery. Like I used my dad's digital camera for our first product photos, and in hindsight, but it wasn't necessarily the best.
You know what, though? I feel like that's still an important lesson, because at least you guys did it, right? You didn't say, oh, we're not going to do it. 'Cause at least you just took it, made something of it, and you iterated on that and got better. Because a lot of times people get stuck in that first stage and they just never get anywhere. But even if it's not the best, you can always get better.
My mom always has a saying where she says, wear the coat that fits you. So like you should wear the coat that's your size. So if you can't necessarily afford like a really big photo shoot the first off, and like you want to like start off, like it is okay to like improve that content as you go along. So like we started with like iPhone pictures because they were sometimes clearer than the pictures on my dad's camera that we didn't really know how to use well. And then we ended up buying like a refurbished Nikon and like going from there and getting like clearer, sharper imagery. And as we grew our sales and as we grew our revenue and as we were able to afford it, we like put together a photo shoot when we had like our friends as the models, and we were able to like start cultivating our brand image more and more that way too. So I think that like you don't necessarily have to start out with like a massive marketing budget and like a massive like photo shoot and something like that to launch. Like you don't need to go into debt trying to launch your brand, but definitely like making sure that you're scaling that investment as you're scaling, as your brand is scaling, and as you're getting traction, as you're finding your customer is really important.
And then I would also say using your network is really, really important in terms of when you're first trying to figure out when you're first creating like images for your brand. The camera we were using wasn't like the best. Chioma's friend also happened to be a blogger and let us use her DSLR. We used those images to actually create the first sort of like really pristine, nice shots for our like website. And it just changed the whole energy around how people felt about the website. They were like, whoa, like every application we filled out from then on was just like so much easier because people took us seriously because of the quality of the images that we had. And then just general business advice, don't be afraid to scale up. So if you have a business idea, right, and you start off with like 20 widgets of whatever you're trying to sell and you make a profit and you gradually get bigger and bigger, that's okay. I know, like, when we first started, there are certain people who are just like, I just don't understand why you would be selling or waste your time with, like, such little quantities. We sort of, like, scaled up, and that sort of made it, like, less risky for us because it was just like, okay, say things didn't really, like, pan out, like, the way that we wanted them to. We still weren't, like, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean like that because I just started selling like Dreams and Drive merchandise, right? And I invested smartly in the beginning. I said, you know what? Let me just get a fixed amount of quantity of shirts, see how these sell, and then go from there. Because I could have bought like 1,000 t-shirts and not really understood what sizes went first, what colors do people like, do people even like the quality of the t-shirts I got originally.
Exactly.
So there's so many things, like it's really okay to start small and then grow accordingly because you can't you can't climb a ladder from the top, right? So I definitely resonate with you guys on that one. What challenges were you guys facing at this point? You know, like what were some of the big hurdles that came your way that were so unexpected, and how did you guys work through those?
I would say like our first challenges were really starting to we wanted to just get traction at first. So I think like we were doing more in-person pop-ups and trying to really find and define our customer. And so I think that kind of getting people to know who we were and like broadening our email list. Like we were doing a lot of like different marketing techniques. Like, so we had our Instagram page and we had we had the blogs that we were doing and we had our tutorials, but trying to make sure that they were getting eyes on that in a way that was cost effective for us was a big challenge. So part of that like meant that we wanted to find like alternative methods to advertise that could be a little bit cheaper. So one of the things that we did to get the word out more was like to start partnering with influencers who could help us spread the gospel of Cee Cee's Closet to like their followers and have those followers then be able to fall in love with us that way through like kind of a trusted influencer. So we started reaching out to like people big and small to kind of get to see who would respond back and then be able to see who we could work with by sending out products that we had so that we could make that kind of smaller investment initially as opposed to like doing like a big ad campaign or digital ad campaign like that right away. And then we started exploring some other ways to use things like Instagram and Facebook ads to try and get people excited and for them to learn more about Cee Cee's Closet. So that was definitely like getting the word out was a challenge because it's great when you have an awesome product and great content and all that stuff, but if nobody sees it, you won't sell anything.
Definitely. And working with influencers, were you paying them or were you just giving them free product and then in exchange for a review?
Like influencers work different ways. So some people want payment right away. Other people do it in exchange for products. So it's kind of figuring out who wants to work with you, who's excited about your product, and then going from there. So some people we paid, some people we didn't pay. There were some investments that didn't pan out. So I'd say one of the lessons we definitely learned from like working with influencers is that not everyone's going to be great, but don't take it personally and don't give up right away. I think that like there were some people who we probably paid more money than we should have, and they ended up not really helping us expand the brand that much. And then there were other people who did it completely for free and who were just excited about our brand, excited about our story, and helped us really grow our market and helped us really find like those first Cee Cee's Closet customers. And that was so essential and so crucial. And if we had just given up, because I think at least a couple of the first 10 that we worked with like didn't pan out. And that's okay because we were just like, okay, we're going to just like kind of keep trying and keep going. And like, then we were able to hit our stride and find more and more people who kind of whose audience fit with what we were doing and who really responded to our products well.
I guess the biggest challenge that we had was at this stage, we didn't necessarily have a mentor who had gone through the experience of building like a direct-to-consumer sort of like brand. We didn't really know what we were doing at the time. Well, and I don't say that in the sense that like we were just like just out here just doing whatever, however. But I think what we learned to do was figure out what we didn't know and learn how to do them, which I don't think some people take the initiative to do per se. But I think going back to like when we were like launching a new product, when we started with like, let's say when we first branched from like bags to head wraps, like, so what do we need to do to sell a head wrap? One of the things that was important was just like, how do you tie a head wrap? And then so going through the stages of creating content that shows people how to buy head wraps so that people know how to tie it and they're more excited about buying the head wrap, or sort of like what are different like call to actions that I can use to make my Instagram feed and my emails or any sort of like marketing effort more effective. I think Chioma and I have always done like a really good job of sort of like using different tools to sort of research more on that and like continue to expand and grow the brand.
What were the biggest resources that you guys were pulling from and using to really educate yourself about the different things you had to learn along the journey?
I love my research. So for me, it's just kind of like one of the first ones that I started using was HubSpot. Like,
yes,
HubSpot,
they are like, so everything you want about marketing, you can find on HubSpot. Somebody's written
an article about it. And you can find it on HubSpot for free because they're really big on content marketing. They just want you to get your email. So that's really great. Another thing that's just like so good, and I don't even want to sound like trite, but like, so we're our e-commerce store is a Shopify store. We actually, I love their blogs. So every week they'll send you like blog posts, and it's just like how to do this, how to do that, why you should be trying this, why you should be trying that, like how to create this type of ad on Facebook. It's free information for anyone to use. So read it, try it out. So A/B testing. See what works and what doesn't work. Not everything works for you, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to give up. You just kind of have to keep going through the motions of like testing things out and weeding out what's ineffective for you. In addition to that, I would say books and podcasts. So I took, I don't remember the name, but I took some classes online on consumer behavior. So I could use different sort of like triggers that would make people want to buy things more. So one way that a brand can be persuasive is through social proof. And I think everybody sees this. Where on Instagram, it's like, oh my God, a brand post that said person is wearing our like new boot. You should wear this new boot too. I mean, that won't be the caption per se, but that's like sort of like the mindset behind it. And so you'll see, oh, other people are buying this, I should buy this too. In addition to that, podcasts are great. So, I've been listening to Dreams and Drive. And I think a lot of times it was almost kind of like, for me, I feel like podcasts are somewhat of like a mastermind group that you're not necessarily like speaking in, but it's just like, like you'll hear someone say something, you're like, I didn't even think about that. I should try that. I'm going to do this tomorrow. And then Dreams and Drive, of course, my lead teal is like My Taught You podcast is the reason why I was just like, oh my God, I didn't even think about PR. Like, and now I have like sort of like a press kit that we can use to send out to people. And then in addition to that, like more recently, I started listening to like Side Hustle Pro, and I've gotten useful information from those podcasts as well. If I need to learn how to do something really specific, a tutorial for like a certain tool, there's YouTube.
Google University is free, right? There's so many things that people can learn. And what I love about what you guys have been sharing is that I think if you want to be a dream driver, which I would characterize you both are, right? You have to have a desire for learning, because if you're content with how things are and what you know now, you really can't grow. And I think that's what separates a lot of entrepreneurs who are actual entrepreneurs versus entrepreneurs, people who talk about it but aren't about it. And it's the people that aren't afraid to say, I don't know it, and then they'll figure out how to do it.
That's a good point. And I think that Chioma and I are definitely those type of people. And I think two things that I sort of miss that I'd like to add is one, networking. So like, I'm so grateful that I have a tribe of entrepreneurs who are working in their own respective businesses, but still have helpful information that they can share with me that has like helped me be able to like help Cee Cee's Closet grow. Don't be afraid to like invest in like a class or any sort of like learning. So if there's like a seminar or any kind of consulting that you feel will like elevate you or uplift your business or help you do, if you need a specific insight that isn't readily available in Google University, do it. Because I know I've heard some classes, or I've attended some people's events and I'm just like, how do they do this? Like, how could I do this? Like, what do I need to know to be able to accomplish something like that? Like, I feel like if you're in a place where you can invest in your knowledge, take the class.
One of the things that I think is really a lot of a struggle with is just the financial part of keeping a business running, right? Getting capital, because in you guys' case, you're not selling services, you're actually selling products. So you have to have money to buy the inventory and do whatever you have to do to get the final product to your end customer. How did you guys manage that? Are there any tips or strategies you can share with our dream drivers for anyone else who has a capital intensive business?
When Uchenna and I started Cee Cee's Closet like a little bit over 2 years ago, we were both working. So like Uchenna said, she was working in asset management, then she was working in New York as a teacher, and then I was working as well as a consultant. And so what we ended up doing is that basically every time we got paid, we would take part of that paycheck and we would invest it into the business and invest that into inventory or things that we needed for packaging, for things that we needed for products, things that we needed to run the business, investing in like a pop-up and things like that. So I don't think that every entrepreneur, especially if you don't have the financial means to, not everyone's going to just jump straight into just being a full-time entrepreneur. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to kind of have to side hustle it at first and like be able to like, and kind of like making sure that you can put food on the table, like keep a roof over your head, while still like investing in your dreams. You don't need to have everything right away all at once. Like I said before, like definitely making sure that you're doing what you can afford to do is important. And like that, you kind of have to be okay with that. Cause it's like, maybe like you can't get like the fancy ad that you wanted or the fancy banner that you wanted, but you're still going to need a banner so that people, when you go to pop-ups, people know who you are, right? Yeah. And you're going to need some material. So you do what you can afford. And when you can afford something better, you do better.
Did you guys ever get any investors, or were you just taking all the money you were making and putting it back into the business?
We were taking everything we were making and putting it back into the business. So this is fully bootstrapped.
Okay. And are you at the point now where you guys turning a profit, or are you still doing that in the business?
I would say that we are turning a profit, but we're still invested in our growth, right? So like, so Uchenna's like doing Cee Cee's Closet full time, and she can talk to you guys more about that. When we're like still making sure that we're investing in expanding our customer base, expanding our product offering, and expanding what Cee Cee's Closet can be for the Cee Cee's Closet customer. So we're still investing in that. So we're not just like taking all the profits and then just like chilling with them, like we're putting it back into the business. Yeah, we're like putting it back into the business. So like we're growing it and we're seeing a return on that profit, right? So like I think one of the great things about business is that your customers will tell you whether or not you're doing the right thing. So like they'll either buy more or they won't buy. So if you see people buying more, if you see people more interested, if you see that customer base broadening, it means you're investing in the right things, you're doing the right things. And so continuing that investment means that there's even more revenue that you can make later. And then when you take that trip to Mexico, you don't have to worry if you're coming back to live on the streets, right? You're coming back and you're going to live in your apartment.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm just so impressed by you guys, I feel like I've seen Cee Cee's Closet everywhere, right? Like you guys have been on different roundups across the internet. You were in the gift bags for the most recent My Taught You retreat, right? With the Mexico retreat that she did, right? I hope I saw that right. Yep, you were there.
Yeah, that was so awesome. We didn't go to Mexico, but we did invest. We did send them some of our products for it, and we were so excited to be a part of that because we love Myleik and we love what she stands for, and the retreat looks fantastic. So we're trying to go next year.
And even, you know, at Brown Girls Power Day, Brown Girls Love Power Day, you gifted some of the head wraps to the panelists. Like, that stuff is so crucial. Why do you think that it's so important for smaller brands, especially, to have that guerrilla marketing mindset? Because I definitely respect that hustle.
I think that Uchenna can speak more to this about this too, but I think you have to give people time to fall in love with you, right? So it's not like I think like definitely with like your branding and clear messaging, people are gonna like flock to that and you'll attract the right people. But you also want to make sure that you're investing in having people like getting yourself out there and having people know who you are. So like with like gifting things to panelists and stuff like that, like these are people that we generally admire or we listen to. Like we've been listening to Dreams and Drive and it's like an amazing podcast. So we wanted to make sure that we met you and were able to say like this is like, you're like doing an amazing job, right? And like being able to like give people that affirmation, then also just being like, hey, like this is like this beautiful business that I'm building. Like I'm super passionate about it. I think you'll love it too. Like here's a sample of my products and you can see what it is that I do, and sharing that part of yourself with someone. I think it's kind of vulnerable to like do that type of sharing, especially in person. But when you do something like that, people respect you, and then also gives people a chance, an opportunity to fall in love with what you're doing too.
To add, I think also the guerrilla marketing is important in the sense that it gives you an opportunity to broaden your network, and it also gives you access to people you otherwise wouldn't have access to. I know the way the Myleik opportunity came about, it's actually really cool. So we actually participated in the Atlanta Afropunk, and they got a feel for what our products were like, and because they liked them, they decided to include them in their gift bag. And additionally, in terms of our relationship with Christina, one of her friends had actually met Chioma at a pop-up that we did in partnership with Zula. And from then on, we've had like a very positive relationship with Christina. She's been so helpful and so pro Cees. Thank you so much, Christina.
I feel like relationships really rule the world, right? Like you even, Uchenna, at the Brown Girls Love Power Day. Now, even at Curl Fest, you told me you've been listening, you've been like supporting me even before I had the podcast. You were on my like RainaCampbell.com newsletter, right? And look how
I was.
Yeah, and look how far everything has gone from then. Like you didn't know that I would have a podcast one day, you know what I meant? And like we didn't even meet each other until years later. But what if you never tuned in, right? Or what if we never said hi at Curl Fest? Who knows where we'd be today?
I think it's important to take that first step and to realize that these people that you admire and who have accomplished so much are also people. Feel comfortable speaking to them just like you would speak to like one of your friends. But don't get too comfortable too early. I know for me, even prior to us, wow, that is true. Even prior to us being a part of the retreat, I actually met Myleik because she was a speaker for an event that I attended. And I don't know, at that event, everyone was wearing a Cees Closet head wrap. And I think that having that sort of impact is also influential.
I think one of the keys to our success in terms of networking is also just being customer centric. So when we speak to our customers, we speak to them like they're important people because they're important. They're choosing to spend their money with you and they're choosing to share that time with you. And I think being really customer centric and customer focused when building anything is extremely crucial to making it successful. So I think, for example, when the Myleik Teal retreat opportunity came about, she'd come over just as it wasn't Myleik, but one of the people who worked with her had come over just as a customer. So she hadn't come over saying like, hey, I'm like shopping for this retreat. That's like, she didn't like put a sign on that said I'm shopping for this retreat. She came over and was just like, she just came over and started browsing and we spoke to her. And like, I think part of what made them want to work with us is because like they saw that interaction and they had that positive interaction. So I think definitely making sure that you're representing your brand in the best way possible with interactions with people is extremely important. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to add that in.
So one thing that I definitely want to mention before we, as we wind down, is the whole idea of competitors, right? Because you guys are in a space where there are other people who have similar companies and who are also, building have great brands as well. What's your view on staying in your lane, but also being aware of the market?
I think that's such a great question, Rita, because I think so many people, when you're starting a business, like there's really not very much that's new under the sun, right? So like, unless you're creating a Facebook, someone somewhere has probably done something similar to what you've done before. So you're going to have competitors. And I think like that being aware of them is smart. Like you should kind of know what they're doing, know what the market is doing and understand what customers expect. I think from competitors, you can get a great idea of what's table stakes. Like what do you need to have like as a baseline for having a business and being able to compete effectively in a market. So I think that's one of the ways like having a competitor, not necessarily being the first to do something, is really helpful. I think in terms of staying in your lane, I think that comes with building a brand identity, right? Like having an idea of who the customer is that you want to reach and what type of message you want to send, right? Because like we're celebrating like the beauty of African print, but we're also like here to celebrate the beauty of like Black women of all shades, all shapes, and all sizes, right? So we want to make sure that our marketing and our messaging says that to people too, and we do it in our own unique way. Because I think making sure that you're staying true to your vision and true to yourself is what's going to really help differentiate you. Because there's like a million other people, but there's only one you, right? So if you can have a way to effectively like package that you-ness and like put that into your business and inject that passion into what you're doing. It doesn't matter how many competitors you have, like your people, like people who you vibe with and who you speak to with your product are going to find you.
That is 100% true. And what I found also is sometimes, I don't know how it works in like the product space, but even just in the podcast space, people who have other business podcasts, like you can still have community with other people, right? Like, there's room in the market for everyone to win because everybody has a different reason why they're participating in your brand. So people may listen to Dreams and Drive for one reason and listen to another show for another reason. So you can still sometimes share customers, but the customer or the end user may just be tied to your brand in a different way. But one thing I want to ask you guys is like, what's the goal for Cee Cee's Closet now? What are you guys trying to build with Cee Cee's Closet now? Like, what's the big vision for the brand?
I have multiple goals because I think what's special to Cee Cee's Closet for me is sort of like the dual impact that we have. So in terms of like, one, having a positive economic impact in Nigeria in the sense that like we're hiring people to do manufacturing there and we're continuously able to grow and expand our team as Cee Cee's Closet grows and expands. In addition to that, just also broadening our community impact here so that we're giving opportunities to people within our community to do things for us, whether it's like making stickers for us or serving as like a photographer or even modeling for us, giving people from our community that same sort of opportunity to sort of grow and expand their customer base or their audience. Chioma touched on my experience teaching earlier, and I've had experiences like as a teacher where younger African American girls would come to me and express some sort of, I guess, like discomfort with their physical appearance, not all, but some. And I feel like we sort of have to push the envelope or be more inclusive with who and how we're defining beauty, especially in our community, and what it means to be like a Black woman. I know that conversation is very prominent now, but like there are Black women with a variety of different heritages, and the boat stopped in different parts of the world. But that's like a conversation for another day. But I just want to ensure that like young Black girls can look at our feed, look at our marketing campaigns, and also look on our website and see themselves and feel beautiful. So those are some sort of, I guess, like non-tangible goals that I have for Cee Cee's Closet.
I want to say I reiterate everything Uchenna says. She always says it so beautifully. Wasn't that really beautiful?
Yes, it was.
I just wanted to send her that compliment because she's awesome.
You guys are such sister goals. Oh.
Thank you. Everyone says that, but I love this girl. Like, she is the best. And I think we have such a strong support system. Because like I said, like, I felt like that experience, like, as a young woman of like African descent, especially like right now, it's not necessarily like the easiest, but I want to offer that support and that love to people whom I feel are deserving, especially young women.
You know what I think also, just observing you guys and thinking about this whole idea of legacy and what we're building is, like, I think sometimes we're dissuaded from like working with our family, right? Like, you know how they say, oh, don't start a business with your sister, you'll end up hating each other. But sometimes working together as family is great, because now you're able to build a legacy, you two, that can have a greater effect on generations to come. So I just commend you guys for not killing each other and for, you know, for like making it work. Because I don't know if I could, like, I had my sister on the show, and I don't know if we could start a business together, but it is definitely something that's so inspirational. But thinking about the whole dream driving journey, one thing I want to talk about before we wind down is this whole idea of personal growth. Basically, you know, over time, we learn things about ourselves. Like, what's one thing from each of you that you think you've really learned about yourself along this entrepreneurial journey?
I think one thing about me is that I've definitely always been extremely driven as a person. So from like a young age, like, I was always wanting to excel, be the best, like, raise your hand first, like that kind of thing. And I think that through all of that, like, there'd always been like a set plan in front of me in terms of like what the goals were to achieve and how success was defined. And I think that one thing that I found with adulthood and found with myself is that, like, without that kind of clear-cut plan, it becomes a lot more difficult to navigate. I found that, like, I'm not necessarily like the strongest planner. I'm really great. Like, when you tell me what needs to be done, I'm really great at getting it done. Like, that's like kind of like my personality. And that's something that's always like helped me be able to excel in a lot of the different things that I've done. But like that planning stage is something that I've had to learn how to build more, especially working with Uchenna, who's like a maniacal planner and is really into like getting super into the weeds first before even starting anything. And I think that having to like learn how to be like a little bit more planning oriented and like kind of having all those nuts and bolts in place and marked out before like setting the hammer to like get to it has been like a really interesting personal growth experience for me. And I'm still growing and still getting better at it. And Uchenna's still making me plan things out more and write them down first. And I appreciate her for that all the time. And I think that's like one thing that I've definitely been personally like trying to improve and continuously work on, because I think that that's what's going to help continue to make Cee Cee's Closet great and help me be able to like continue to execute really effectively.
That's so amazing. Good job, Chumi. Good job.
Thanks, Jenny.
I'm like this is such a good question in terms of like personal growth, but I will say, like, I guess because I'm doing it full time, I think a lot of times, especially in the early stages when, you know, it's just like you and your partner, or in some instances, if your partner is not around, it's just you, it could be a really lonely experience just at times. And when things are like frustrating and you don't have an immediate answer, it can elicit a very emotional response. And so I didn't understand how to take care of myself when I first was doing Cee Cee's Closet full time, because I was like living, breathing, sleeping, and eating Cee Cee's Closet. I didn't care about anything. Like, what I was saying is that I can be a better business partner, right, if I take care of myself. So one thing I do like want to caution people to do is to like even take care of your mental health. And part of that means like a number of things. One, you should plan a schedule. So you should be like eating like regular meals, getting some rest in when you can, and also figuring out how you're going to be able to accomplish the tasks that are like necessary to keep your business functioning. To like know when you've reached your limit, and if you need to talk to someone. And I feel like in terms of like talking to someone and like just getting counseling, I feel like sometimes people feel like, oh, like I'm okay, like life is good. They like sort of wait until like they're at an extreme. But I don't think that's necessary for just sort of like, even if it's something like balancing like an opinion about how you feel about something, I think it's important to have a space in your life for self-care and for mental health.
Yeah. So important. So let us go into our lightning round, ladies. At this point of our interview, I'm going to give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. And remember, we're sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor. I'll give you the prompt, and then we'll just keep it going, all right? All right, the first word is park.
Plot.
That was good, Uchenna. Mine is taking inventory / reflecting.
Reverse.
Reflect.
For me, reverse, I think of putting too much weight on, or emphasis on the past and kind of dwelling on past mistakes. So in reverse, they're usually something that I'm trying to get out of.
Neutral.
Goal setting.
I think for neutral, I usually think of moving forward, but not necessarily having a focus quite yet. So when I think of a car in neutral, it's not necessarily like you're not pressing on the gas, you're not driving towards anything, but you are moving already. So with neutral, I still want to try and get myself into drive.
All right, then drive.
I would say grit. And I say that because whether it's snow, hail, sleet, haze, fog, rain, you just got to keep on pushing.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think for me, drive is about knowing where you want to get to and doing whatever it takes to get there. So definitely like what Uchenna said about all of the weather, the inclement weather you can face on your way there, but also just making sure that you have that goal in mind, you have that end in sight and pushing towards it and not letting anything stop you on your way there.
And then finally, if you want to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So ladies, tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
All right. So I say my first key to success is goal setting. So that comes from the whole notion of backwards planning. So what is it that you want to achieve? And think about like the task or the things that you need to do in order to achieve that goal. And then collect as much data as you can in terms or like benchmarks that will let you know whether or not you're on track or off track in terms of achieving that goal.
Yeah. And then I would say another tool to success that you want to have if you're going to be a dream driver is definitely the passion. I think that when people can feel when you love or excited about what you're doing. And I think that excitement that comes through is what really helps people connect with you and fall in love with what you're doing. So being able to have that passion for what you're doing and doing what you want because you love it, not necessarily because you have to, is such like an important key to like being able to do it at a successful entrepreneurial endeavor.
And the last key.
Doing whatever, you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and do whatever it takes to succeed. If that means researching to figure out what you don't know, or studying for a class, as we alluded to earlier, or setting up an A/B test, smaller scale, until you can afford to do something larger scale, I think that's very key to being successful.
Thank you, ladies. This has been such a pleasure. I had so much fun getting to know more about your brand and about your story, and I know our dream drivers did as well. Can you tell us, or people listening in, tell people listening in where they can learn more about your brand or hang out with you guys online?
Sure. You can always find us on all social media. We are Cee's Closet NYC, and that's Cee with 2 E's.
So you can also find us on our website at www.ceesclosetnyc.com.
One thing that I want to ask you guys before we get off is like, when you feel like giving up, what keeps you going?
I mean, I think that with everything, you're going to have moments of self-doubt, right? Because it's not going to be every product launch that's going to be a hit out of the park. And it's not going to be every time you post a photo on Instagram that you're going to get like a cajillion likes. And then it's going to travel and go viral and everyone buys everything you have on your website. That's not how it happens. But I think that one of the things that you have to remind yourself is that there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. And you can't expect there to be only smooth sailing, but you can't look at the bad days as like all that there is, because there are positives that are happening as well. So I think taking a step back when things are like difficult or frustrating, and then taking a step back, like kind of putting it in context, like also thinking about the successes that you've had and making sure to catalog those and appreciate those while being in difficult times is extremely helpful to being able to like push past those difficulties and being able to continue to like to see what you're doing is worthwhile and exciting.
There are two things that keeps me going. I think one is the group of fans and supporters and customers who love Cee Cee's Closet so much and love what we do in terms of our marketing and the products that we give them and how our products make them feel. Two, I also think about my younger self and what sort of role model I would like to be for her. And if I were to talk to her, what message I'd be sending. So for me, I want young Black women to know, and girls, to know that their dreams have value and that their sweat equity isn't in vain. Because I think that we get a lot of messages in the media from different people that tell us otherwise. But I want someone to be like, you know what? If Uchenna can do it, if Chioma can do it, I can do it too. And I think that's part of what keeps me going when things get rough. On a very, 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 very real note, I think that you should have a support system and a network of people who are pro you. And for many people, that means very different things. Like for me, I'm very blessed to have an amazing, loving, caring sister who is attentive to my emotional needs. But I'm also very blessed to have amazing friends who, like, when I was on my last leg and like just a hot mess, crying, boogers everywhere, just sad.
We all had those moments, right?
They were listening to my phone calls, heeding my concerns, but also offering me another perspective, because I think when things are sad, we tend to dwell on the negative and forget about all the positive things that we've accomplished and that are happening. I feel like Cee Cee's Closet kind of consistently puts us in this Cinderella moment. We'll get opportunities or people will reach out to us and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe I met this person today. Like, for example, like at one event, like Tiffany Haddish had like a huge year and she stopped by the Cee Cee's Closet booth and she bought a headwrap.
Wait, what? When?
Did I know she was going to do that? No, but I was happy she joined Team Cee Cee.
That is so crazy. I actually was going to ask you guys, like, what's the proudest moment, like, looking back along your journey where you're like, damn, like, I can't believe this is happening. That is so amazing.
Yeah. That was pretty dope. I was like, that was pretty dope.
We just got to get Oprah in a Cee Cee's head wrap, right? We need Michelle in a wrap.
Girl, did I tell you in college I met Oprah?
You did?
Yeah. Wow. Too bad I didn't have Cee Cee's Closet then, because, you know, I would have came up to her with a...
Like, this is the Oprah. We named it after you. You would have changed it later on the site, right?
Yes, give her a shorty so she can show off her hair that she loves so much.
I always say that Uchenna hugging Oprah means that we've got that Oprah magic in us. So we're definitely gonna. There's nothing but success in our future because she's touched Oprah. I would say one more thing that keeps us going is that I think when we started Cee Cee's Closet, we wanted to have that positive economic impact on Nigeria, right? Because as much beauty and like amazing people and art and vibrancy that comes out of Africa, there is also poverty and there's also sometimes a lack of economic opportunity. And we wanted to be able to help create that economic opportunity with the artisans and tailors that we work with to create our products. So I think definitely one of the things that keeps us going is being able to see that impact that our business has on their lives, right? So like the tailors that we work with are able to create renovations to their shop. They're able to have more frequently have energy and power, because there is like an energy crisis in Nigeria where you don't have consistent light and electricity. So being able to have that kind of impact on like just the daily lives of people, the community that we're working with is something that's just like immeasurable. Like it's something that really makes it so worth it, right? Because we can have like this, we can instill all this beauty and like the self-love in Black women here and around the world. And we can also have like a tangible economic impact on the lives of the artisans and tailors that we work with.
All right. This has been amazing, guys. Yeah, I'm so excited. Like I was like, we have to make this happen when I saw you guys at Brown Girls Love Power Day, and we're making it happen. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right, so that was a wrap for episode 143 with Uchenna and Chioma and Ngwudo. I hope that you enjoyed hearing their dream driving journey as well as their keys to success. And if you love this episode, you know what I'm going to say. Please share it with a friend. Remember, we are Dreams and Drive across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to repost it on your Instagram stories, if you want to tweet it to someone, if you want to send it via Facebook message or a text message, I don't care, but I just love it when you guys share. So please do that. Make sure you are subscribed to us wherever you're listening as well. And don't forget to enter our giveaway. We are giving away one head wrap from Cee Cee's Closet. If you want to enter to win a head wrap, I love mine. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably see me rocking the same one for the past few weeks. That's how much I love it. Go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win to enter. And if you are not part of our online community, so if you don't get the Keys newsletter every week and you want to, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. Just fill out the form there and you'll automatically be joined to our newsletter. Reminder, guys, we have crew necks this week on sale. I really want to run through this merch and get this merch into the hands of you dream drivers. So we have a sale this week. All crew necks will be $22 plus shipping. So if you want to grab a crew neck, we have them in sapphire, pink, red, black, and gray. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/shop. That's dreamsanddrive.com/shop. All right, so we have a new review that I want to read to you guys. This one is coming from DJ Jazzy Cool, and it's called Helping You Put Dreams in Drive, and it's a 5-star review. She says, or he says, a very solid interview podcast that finds entrepreneurs beyond the stand fair and gets deep into their stories of success and failure, inspirational, educational, entertaining. And if you want to get your review read on the next episode, all you got to do is leave one. Please do that. Reviews really help us with our ratings. So if you're listening right now and you've never left a review or even rated the episode, please go into Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, leave a review, and I'll be very, very appreciative. And I want to give you guys a short update on just what's happening with me. So in the month of March, I kind of just took off from podcast interviewing. I needed to get my head right. Like, I feel like I was very not burnt out, but I just needed some time to think about the direction of the podcast community and what I wanted to do. And I'm telling you guys, it's never worth it to work yourself into no return. So if you find that you're in a part of your journey where you need to put the car in neutral and just reassess things, do that, because your self-care, your mental health comes first. You cannot grow a dream. You cannot nurture a dream if you have no energy to do so. So for me, this past month has just been so amazing, and I'm really excited to get back into gear in April and put these dreams in full drive. So that's just a little update from me. So that's it for today's episode. I hope that you took something away from Uchenna and Chioma's journey. And I hope you're inspired to just keep on building brands, keep on putting those dreams of yours in drive, because you never know what kind of impact you may have on someone else. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 144. Bye, guys.